Hey, Crusader! Welcome to part 1 of this brief overview of the constructed language Valhalish, or in the language itself, Valhalish. Hopefully, by the end of this series you'll have a basic idea of some aspects of Valhalish grammar and pronunciation. Valhalish is based on the North Germanic languages, in particular Icelandic. You'll also see some influences from West Germanic languages such as Dutch and German, and also some features that I just made up. In this introductory episode we're going to look at pronunciation. I don't want to complicate things too much by looking at grammar just yet. First I want to give you some idea of what the language sounds like, and then we'll look at some basic phrases. Here's the Valhalish alphabet. O, Eosh, B, C, D, Ida, E, F, G, Ho, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Ulucht O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, tweevalt V, X, Y, dwarp, Z. Of these letters, only the following are found in native words. We'll start by looking at some of the trickier consonants. Hopefully you'll be able to pick up some of the easier aspects of pronunciation as we go along, so I won't point them out. You'll have noticed two consonants that may look unfamiliar, Ida and Dwat. In English they're called eth and thorn. These are pronounced differently depending on where they appear in a word. First, Ida. Ida is pronounced the, as in this, if it appears before an unrounded front vowel or y. That means that if it appears before the vowels ash, e, I and y, it's pronounced th. It's never pronounced unvoiced, like in thin. It's always voiced, as in this, the and them. An example, stodir. Stodir. If it appears before any other vowel, it's pronounced d. For example, dur. Dur. If it appears at the end of a syllable, something odd happens. The letter is silent, but it causes the pitch of the syllable to fall rapidly. This is called a falling tone. Listen. Da. Da. Brød. Brød. Sta. Sta. Breighøyder. Breighøyder. Note that this does not happen in all dialects. Next, the letter dwar. This behaves pretty much in the same way as Ida. The only difference is that before unrounded front vowels and y, it's pronounced like th in thin. Some examples: ficht, ficht, du, du. The unvoiced plosives p, t and k are often aspirated, just like in English or German. This means that they are pronounced with a slight puff of air after them in certain positions. Speakers of languages with aspiration probably won't even notice they do it, so if you're a native speaker you don't really need to worry about it. Postir. Postir. Post. Now that's post-aspiration. Valhalish also has something known as pre-aspiration. When p, t and k are doubled, there's a puff of air before the consonant. It's as if one of the p's, t's or k's was turned into an h. Hehplach. Hehplach. Ficht. Ficht. Bochkur. Bochkur. The letter L is also pronounced differently when it's doubled. Volhetlant. Volhetlant. Orvitle. Orvitle. M and N are two further consonants that sound different when they're doubled. Dodnur, dodnur, or hobme, or hobme. You may have noticed the strange pronunciation of the letter R in some words. In most positions it's trilled, like R, for example, wrong, wrong. But at the end of words, or when it's written as a double R, it's pronounced more like R or Pr. For example, huisar, bohkur, stadir, erjar. As with some of the other sounds I've described, the surrounding sounds also affect the pronunciation of R, but I won't go into that. The most important thing to recognise here is the basic distinction between R and R. Now the vowels. Vowels in Valhalish can be long or short. Most long vowels are diphthongs. Here are the short vowels. A, E, I, O, U. Yes, short U and Y are pronounced exactly the same. The long vowels sound like this: O, A, E, I, O, Ö, U, Ü. The way in which long vowels are marked in the orthography is quite straightforward, but it does require some explanation. It's all down to something called the open and closed syllable rule, which aims to reduce the clutter of superfluous length marks. All of the vowels, except for ash and o umlaut, adhere to this rule. Basically, it goes as follows. Long vowels can be marked as long by an acute accent. O, I, O, U, Ü. In closed syllables, that is, syllables that end in a consonant, long vowels are always written with an accent. Short vowels are simply written without an accent. So, in boak, the O is long since it has an accent. Bohk is short since there's no accent. However, in open syllables, that is, in syllables that end with a vowel, there's no need for an accent. Short vowels can't appear in open syllables. So, in the word boakum, the O is pronounced long, even though there's no accent. Compare this with bohkum. Bohkum. Here, the O is short because the syllable is closed and there's no accent. To summarise, if the syllable ends in a vowel, the vowel is always long. If the syllable ends in a consonant, length needs to be explicitly marked. Now I mentioned earlier that ash and o umlaut don't follow this rule. That's because ash is always long, apart from in a few circumstances, and o umlaut is just awkward. It already has an accent on top of it, so it can't take an acute accent in Valhalish. That means, unfortunately, that you can't tell whether o umlaut is long or short when it appears in closed syllables. In dictionaries, long O is often underlined. It's just something you've got to learn. There are a few exceptions to the open and closed syllable rule, but we can ignore them for now. I'll mention them as we come to them in later episodes.